As online outrage spread like wildfire over BTS Jungkook's recent hat controversy, fans and critics alike waited in silence for a sign from the group's older members. What no one expected was a raw, emotional, and public statement from BTS's eldest, Kim Seokjin, known to the world simply as Jin. And when he finally spoke, he didn't just speak. He stood like a shield. The backlash began after a rehearsal photo from J-Hope's encore concert circulated online. Jungkook was seen wearing a cap embroidered with the phrase, "Make Tokyo Great Again," a slogan that mirrors the American political phrase, "Make America Great Again." Many Korean netizens reacted swiftly and strongly, expressing concerns that the phrase echoed far-right sentiments and was insensitive to Korea's history with Japan. Though Jungkook swiftly apologized, stating that he wore the hat unknowingly and without understanding its deeper implications, the internet wasn't ready to let go. Hashtags calling for accountability trended for days, and debates flooded every social platform. Until Jin appeared on the evening of June 14th, during a surprise Weverse live broadcast initially meant as a casual fan check-in. Jin shifted the mood drastically. His voice, normally light and teasing, dropped an octave. His expression grew serious. And then he said, "I've seen the comments. I've heard the anger. But I need to say this. Jungkook is not that kind of person." There was a pause. The chat went wild. He made a mistake. Yes. He apologized sincerely. But some of the things being said about him now, they don't reflect who he is. They don't even come close. Jungkook has never had hatred in his heart. He didn't wear that hat to make a statement. He didn't wear it to hurt anyone. He wore it because he thought it looked cool. That's it. Jin's voice cracked slightly as he continued. Though he tried to stay composed, the emotion bled through his every word. "I've known Jungkook since he was 15. I've seen him grow from a shy kid into the man you see on stage today. And he has never, not once, carried a message of division or disrespect. That's not who he is." Jin then looked directly at the camera, as if speaking not just to fans, but to critics, to the media, and to anyone who had twisted the situation. "I understand the history. I understand the pain behind the reactions. But I also understand my brother. And I hope you will, too." At one point during the live stream, Jin softly said, "It's easy to judge someone by a photo. But if you truly care about BTS, if you've ever called yourself ARMY, please look beyond the surface. Judge him by his heart, not a hat." Those words sparked an emotional outpouring across social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #WeStandWithJungkook, #ThankYouJin, and #ProtectJungkook started trending globally. Fans began sharing moments from over a decade of BTS history that showed Jungkook's kindness, humility, and love for his members and fans alike. Fans react. He spoke what we all felt. Across platforms, fans expressed how Jin's words resonated deeply. Jin didn't defend just to protect Jungkook's image. He defended because he knows Jungkook's soul. At Moonchild_min, Twitter, "I cried watching Jin. He's the Hyung we all wish we had." He didn't scream. He didn't deny history. He just reminded the world that people deserve context and compassion. At Army4Life_97, TikTok, others applauded Jin's maturity and strength. This is what leadership looks like. He didn't sweep it under the rug. He acknowledged the pain but also protected someone who's like a brother to him. At Seokjin_sunshine, Instagram, behind the scenes, a bond that endures. Sources close to the group shared that Jin had been deeply affected by the backlash Jungkook received. One staff member revealed, Jin kept saying, "He's blaming himself too much. He's scared. I need to speak up." He didn't want to be silent and let Jungkook carry this weight alone. Those who know BTS know the unspoken promise among the members to protect one another at all costs. And last night, Jin fulfilled that promise, not with grand gestures, but with steady, unshakable love. Jungkook's quiet response. Following the broadcast, Jungkook didn't post anything. But fans noticed he logged onto Weverse, like Jin's live, and left a single purple heart under a fan comment that said, "Jin Hyung protected you like family, and ARMY will do the same." a deeper conversation. This moment has sparked broader discussions within Korean entertainment circles about cancel culture, historical sensitivity, and the mental toll on young idols who are expected to be perfect symbols at all times. But what stood out most from Jin's message wasn't politics or policy. It was humanity. A final message that echoed. Before ending the live stream, Jin left fans with one final sentence, one that's already being shared across fan pages and media alike. We can learn from our mistakes, but only if the world gives us the grace to learn without being destroyed. And just like that, Jin exited the live, leaving behind a silence heavier than any performance he's ever given. The live stream ended. The world was left in silence. But not for long. Within hours, Weverse exploded with heartfelt messages, hashtags dominated Twitter, and fans all over the world poured out their emotions like a dam had broken. For many, this wasn't just about a hat anymore. It was about who Jungkook is, who Jin has always been, and the kind of love that exists between two brothers who grew up in the eye of the world's most relentless storm. He cried after the live. Staff shares what really happened that night. According to a trusted HYB staff member who spoke anonymously, Jin wasn't planning to go live. He had spent the last 2 days watching social media in silence, refusing to post anything, not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much. He was pacing, the source said. He kept watching clips of the rehearsal, reading comments about Jungkook, and whispering to himself, "It's not fair. It's not fair." Then he looked at his phone and said, "I can't let him go through this alone." After the live stream ended, the staff revealed that Jin went to his room and cried quietly for nearly 20 minutes. When a member of the staff approached him, Jin reportedly said, "I just hope he feels less alone now. I'm sorry I brought you into this." Jungkook's private text to Jin. Though no screenshots have been made public, a fan-run page known for accurate updates, @Jungkook_archive, posted that Jungkook privately messaged Jin shortly after the broadcast, saying, "Hyung, I'm sorry I brought you into this. You've already carried so much. I didn't want to be a burden." To which Jin allegedly replied, "You didn't bring me into this. I chose to be here, because that's what brothers do. They stand together, even when it's hard." Fans who read this exchange, later confirmed by insiders close to the group, were overwhelmed with emotion. Jin isn't just a bandmate. He's a protector, a brother, and a man of deep loyalty. Jungkook's pain became his pain, wrote one fan. A global wave of support. Armies rally together. Inspired by Jin's bravery, thousands of fans began flooding social media with hashtag Forgive Jungkook, hashtag Thank You Jin, and hashtag Jungkook Forever. But more than hashtags, they took action. Fan-led donation drives were launched in Jungkook's name to organizations promoting Korean-Japanese peace education. Artists began drawing illustrations of Jin and Jungkook standing side by side, Jin with his hand on Jungkook's shoulder, shielding him. Video tributes popped up on YouTube, celebrating their journey from No More Dream to today, underscoring the unwavering bond between them. A message began to spread. Idols are not perfect, but the best ones learn
and grow
and stand together when it matters. The return of Jungkook, an on-stage hug that shook a stadium. 3 days later, the world saw them together again. During J-Hope's final encore performance, Jin and Jungkook appeared on stage. The crowd erupted, not in cheers alone, but in sobs. Something felt different. After performing Vu, the lights dimmed, the music faded, and in that silence, Jin turned to Jungkook and pulled him into a tight embrace. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't choreographed. It was Jin, the older brother, wrapping his arms around the younger one he had defended, forgiven, and loved through the storm. Jungkook's eyes watered. His hands gripped Jin's back. And just like that, 50,000 voices screamed in unison, not for a scandal, not for anger, but for love, for unity, for healing. Backstage. "Thank you for seeing me." After the show, in a brief moment caught on fan cam as the group exited the stage, Jungkook could be seen leaning into Jin, whispering something. Later, a sound engineer who had been nearby confirmed the words, "Thank you, Hyung. Thank you." for seeing me when the world didn't." Jin didn't respond. He just smiled, tapped Jungkook's chest gently, and walked ahead, letting Jungkook stand tall behind him. Media shifts tone, from outrage to understanding. Jin's intervention not only softened public opinion, it shifted the entire narrative. Top Korean entertainment outlets began publishing articles that focused less on controversy and more on reflection. Cancel culture versus growth culture. What Jin's words taught us, soul insight. Beyond the hat, understanding Jungkook's heart. Yonhap culture. BTS isn't just a group. They're a family. Asia Pop News. Suddenly, the headlines changed. Jungkook was no longer the villain. He was the boy who grew up on camera, who made a misstep, and whose family stood behind him. Fans recalled Jin's own journey with mistakes and grace. What made Jin's words so powerful wasn't just his fame. It was his own history of humility. Fans recalled moments when Jin had spoken openly about his own regrets, about learning through time and pain. That legacy gave his defense of Jungkook added weight. One army from Busan wrote, "Jin isn't defending blindly. He knows what it means to be young and imperfect in front of millions. That's why his voice carries so much truth." A new era of Jungkook. Healing, not hiding. The world has seen many idol scandals fade, but this moment has etched itself in a different category, not because of what happened, but because of how Jin responded. In an age of outrage and online warfare, he chose honesty over silence, compassion over calculation. And through that choice, he gave Jungkook what so many never receive in the face of backlash: grace. Dignity. A second chance. The days following Jin's emotional livestream were filled with a tense stillness that lingered across fan communities, news outlets, and within BTS's own sphere. It wasn't just about defending Jungkook anymore. It became a defining moment of what it truly meant to be a family under the relentless gaze of millions. Jungkook remained silent publicly, but those close to him knew the weight he was carrying. Sources inside HYB revealed he spent long hours alone in the rehearsal room after Jin's broadcast, not to isolate himself, but to process everything. He wasn't just embarrassed. He felt he had failed, not just the public, not just ARMY, but the Hyung who had gone on camera and placed his heart on the line. When Jin visited the practice room, unannounced the next day, Jungkook was slumped against the mirror wall, earbuds in, phone off. Jin didn't say much. He simply walked over, sat beside him, and nudged him with his shoulder. Jungkook pulled one earbud out, eyes glassy, and whispered, "I thought I ruined everything." Jin responded without looking at him, just fixing his gaze straight ahead. "You don't have that kind of power." He let out a dry chuckle, then continued, "You're not perfect. None of us are. But what matters is who you are, not what they think they saw." And Jungkook, visibly shaken, finally broke. Tears streamed silently down his cheeks, and for the first time since the controversy began, he allowed himself to cry, not out of guilt, but out of relief. The next night, during soundcheck for J-Hope's final concert, staff noticed the difference immediately. Jungkook's posture was lighter, and his voice, though slightly strained, carried a raw beauty that hadn't been there before. Jin stood near the side of the stage, arms crossed, giving a subtle nod of reassurance. J-Hope, always the glue of the group, wrapped both of them in a quick, strong hug backstage and simply said, "You guys remind me why we started this." As the night fell and the stadium filled, the tension in the air was palpable. Fans weren't sure what to expect. Rumors of both Jin and Jungkook appearing had swirled all day, but no confirmation had come. So when the lights dimmed and the first notes of Jungkook echoed through the venue, and the silhouettes of Jungkook, Jin, and J-Hope slowly emerged through the stage fog, the crowd lost control. It wasn't just applause, it was emotional release. Screams turned into sobs, cheers turned into chants. Armies around the world watched the live stream, clutching their phones as if holding on to the memory as it happened. Jungkook's voice, full of ache and apology, carried differently that night. His every lyric in Jungkook felt like a personal confession. And when Jin harmonized with him, his voice steady but his eyes shimmering, It was as if the music itself was a dialogue between two souls who had walked through fire and returned not burned, but bonded. After the final chorus, Jungkook stood still, hands trembling at his sides. Jin walked over without hesitation and wrapped him in a firm, deliberate hug. The stadium fell to silence for a moment, then erupted again. But this time, it wasn't fan service. It wasn't showbiz. It was a real, unrehearsed moment of healing that needed no explanation. That hug became the image that swept across headlines the next morning. It wasn't the hat anymore. It wasn't the scandal. It was Jin's arms, wrapped around the youngest member, pulling him into the safety of something stronger than fame. Unconditional love. Backstage, as they exited through the dark hallway, a camera briefly caught Jin turning to Jungkook and saying, "You've always been strong. But now you know you don't have to be alone to prove it." Jungkook nodded silently, lips pressed tightly together, and placed his hand on Jin's shoulder for just a second longer than usual. The group didn't issue an official press statement. There was no need. The moment had said everything. In the days that followed, fans began writing letters not just to Jungkook, but to Jin. One particularly viral post read, "You didn't just defend your brother, you taught millions of us how to show up when it matters." Parents who were ARMY wrote that they showed the video to their children as an example of compassion. Mental health advocates praised the handling of the situation, noting that what could have become a full-blown media trial was instead transformed into a moment of understanding and redemption. More than anything, this moment rewrote the rules. In a time when celebrities are often destroyed for mistakes and stripped of context, Jin's approach reminded the world that accountability and empathy are not opposites. They are partners in true healing. For Jungkook, the path forward would still require caution and growth. But now, he didn't have to walk it in shame or silence. He had been seen, defended, and most importantly, loved, not just by fans, but by the man who had watched him grow from a shy teenager into a global icon. And as Jin returned to his room that night, closing the door softly behind him, he glanced one last time at his phone. A single notification from Jungkook had come in, just 2 words, "Forever grateful." Jin smiled quietly to himself, then whispered into the empty room, "Always." And in that moment, under the glow of a city that never sleeps, 2 hearts beat not just as idols, not just as legends, but as brothers, forever tied by loyalty, love, and a bond no storm could break. As the following days unfolded, the moment Jin and Jungkook shared on stage refused to fade. Instead, it began to grow, spreading like wildfire across every corner of the internet. Media headlines slowly changed from scandal-driven outrage to something far more profound. For the first time in days, Jungkook's name was no longer synonymous with controversy, but with courage. And beside him, always, was Jin, the unwavering anchor who refused to let his younger brother face the storm alone. International media echoed the sentiment. The New York Times published an op-ed titled "Jin's Gentle Revolution," calling his gesture a masterclass in emotional intelligence and leadership. Meanwhile, BTS fans in Japan organized a cross-cultural dialogue event in Seoul, inviting Korean and Japanese youth to discuss the historical sensitivity behind symbols and the importance of empathy in public discourse. "Jin didn't just protect Jungkook," said the event organizer. "He gave us a reason to talk about the deeper pain behind the anger." And yet, even with the wave of global support and the shift in public opinion, Jin and Jungkook both stayed unusually quiet on social media. It wasn't about riding the wave. It was about letting the moment breathe, letting the healing happen. But behind the scenes, the emotional toll had not vanished. According to someone from BTS's inner circle, the group shared a quiet dinner the night after the concert. No cameras, no managers, just the members, gathered around a long table, like they had so many times before. Jungkook reportedly didn't speak much, but when he raised his glass for a toast, he looked directly at Jin and said, "Thank you for saving me before I even realized I needed saving." Jin didn't respond with words. He didn't have to. The room understood. For fans, the bond between Jin and Jungkook, known affectionately as Jungkook, had always been something special. But this event transformed that bond into something larger. It became a symbol of what BTS has always stood for. Not perfection, but connection. Not image, but humanity. Fan art began pouring in across every platform. Illustrations of Jin shielding Jungkook, of their hug replayed in animated loops, of the two of them walking through flames unburned. Poets, writers, and fans from dozens of countries shared stories of how the moment reminded them of their own siblings, mentors, or friends who had stood by them in dark times. And through all of it, perhaps the most moving piece of content came not from BTS themselves, but from a fan-edited video titled Jungkook, Through the Years. Set to a soft piano version of Epiphany and Still With You intertwined, the video traced their journey. Jungkook clinging to Jin during their rookie years, Jin teasing him with brotherly warmth during Bond Voyage, and then finally, the hug that silenced a stadium and shook the world. Within hours, the video had over 5 million views. Comment sections across social media transformed into something unrecognizable from a few days earlier. Once filled with harsh critiques and divided opinions, they were now flooded with comments like, "He made a mistake. He apologized. And he learned. Isn't that what we ask of everyone?" Jin didn't just speak for Jungkook. He spoke for all of us who've ever felt misunderstood. This is what love looks like. This is what family does. And while Jungkook continued to lay low, one late-night post on Weverse caught everyone by surprise. It was brief, just a few lines, written in the familiar poetic rhythm that fans knew so well. "When the world turned cold, you lit a fire I forgot I had. I'll never walk ahead of you, but I'll always walk with you." He didn't sign it. He didn't need to. The fans knew it was him. And they knew exactly who he was talking about. In the HYBE building days later, Jin returned to the studio. This time, not for a live stream or an official meeting, but to begin recording a song he had started writing during his military service. One that, according to close sources, was inspired by brotherhood and survival. The working title? Umbrella. And as he adjusted his mic, warmed up his voice, and glanced at the lyric sheet, staff noticed a new line scribbled at the bottom of the page. It read, "When the rain came for you, I stood where the lightning struck." That is who Jin has always been, not just the oldest member, not just the visual, not just the mood maker, but the shield, the anchor, and now, the voice of compassion in a time when the world desperately needed it.